Hey everybody. Today we are going to do another before and after on the Gourami Tank here. We're going to just do a little bit of tank maintenance, a water change, and a plant removal. The plant removal is going to be the big thing that we're going to do tonight. The water change is not really critical. I am going to do a good maybe 20% on there like I normally do. But I'm more concerned about getting the plants out of there. And the reason being, well, there's several reasons actually. I've got an external canister filter. I've got the 304B that most people have, or a lot of people have, and I can hear water gurgling around in it. And when it starts to build water up inside of it, that's usually a sign that something is clogging the surface skimmer, and it's causing air to get sucked down in with the water. So I went in and I made sure there was nothing blocking it and the water was still flowing in it normally, and I got the air out of the system, and a little while later I heard air in the system again. So it got me scratching my head, and eventually I figured out what is going on. If you don't know how one of these works, it's going to be kind of difficult to show you back there, but the main intake for the filter goes down towards the bottom of the tank, and that's where the bulk of the water gets drawn in. And then up here on the top you can see that little surface skimmer back there. Well, what was happening was the guard, or the screen that goes over the main intake, actually had plants and roots and some java growing into it, and it was really restricting the flow of water into my filter. The result was the pump was still drawing water in as much as it could, and it was actually sucking water down that surface skimmer so rapidly that it was actually drawing air in with it, and that's why I keep getting this air sucked into the filter, and I keep getting all these noises. So it is time to get in there and clean that filter intake a little bit and trim those plants back quite a bit. I'm going to leave the Water Sprite alone because there's not a lot of it in there at the moment. The other thing I need to do is, once again, in the same corner, I need to get this red Tiger Lotus out of there. When we actually get in and open the top up, you'll see that it's floating on the surface, and it's just really dense and thick and causes an awful lot of light blockage down to the bottom and just dims the tank up. So it's just time to get in there and thin that out a little bit, as I have to do from time to time. And the temple plant in the back, you can probably see a little better in the reflection on the glass than you actually can by looking through the tank, but there's a big bushy temple plant in the back of the tank, and it doesn't really serve a lot of purpose visually. It's behind that big piece of wood. You can't even see it. So I think I'm going to pull that out altogether just to open up some space. I think that's one of the things that's growing into the filter intake, in addition to some java fern that it was drifting loose and got caught, and then of course the roots began growing and were growing up into the filter intake. So I did pull a bunch of roots out already, but today we are actually going to get in there and do a full water change and plant removal, and I think I'm even going to tackle the filter tonight, so maybe we'll get a little look at what the inside of the filter looks like. So sit tight, let me get started, and we'll get on to the next bit. Alright, we've got the tank draining, and we're going to get set up to pull the filter out in a minute, but first I wanted to show you this. I bought a new roll. The other piece I had I'm actually using for something else. This is called contact paper, or sometimes it is called shelf liner. It's just plastic. I don't even remember how much this cost, a few dollars, but it's a 4-foot roll of it. And I like to just lie it on the ground. So I've got a place to set my filter. I can put my buckets. It helps. It doesn't keep all the drips off the carpet or anything, but it helps. So while that is draining, we are going to get in here and actually start, sorry about that, trimming some of this out. We're going to start with the Tiger Lotus, and most of this I can pretty much just cut almost all of it out. You can see how it's all grown right to the top, and it's pretty much growing on out of the tank. So a lot of this is going to have to get cut out if I can get down in there. It's a little difficult to see. The only thing I'm really worried about is making sure I don't cut any of the new shoots. You still got a couple in the back that can come out. And I like to cut these down as low as I can, but sometimes it's just a pain in the butt to get all the way down to the bottom. So I cut them halfway up just because of the ease of getting to them. That's not that big a deal, but the part that's still attached that I did not cut off will die off, and that will account for, you know, the equivalent of dying vegetation in the tank, which does account for ammonia buildup and, you know, bioload in the tank. See, this back here is what I need to, I think, just pull out altogether. Well, that's really rooted in. So this will get set off to the side, and I will probably do something with that later because that's a nice looking plant. So that will open up the back. All this Java is actually pretty much attached to this wood by now, and as long as I can feel that there is nothing on or around the filter intake, which I feel like I got pretty much all of it off of there, then we should be good to go. So let's think about maybe thinning this out a little too, because that is pretty bushy. So let's cut this about right there. So that's another dense little patch of temple plant there. And boy, did that make a difference. So I think that's good. We will leave we'll leave these two taller leaves on here for now. I don't think they're going to be able to reach the surface once I get the tank refilled, and as long as they don't reach the surface, that's okay with me. But when you're cutting a plant back, you got to remember the plant is getting its energy through its leaves. You can think of the leaves as like the solar panels. The plant still needs to draw energy from the light so that it can recover from the damage that's been done and send those new shoots up and basically rebuild itself after the damage. So you don't ever want to cut back too much at once, and you don't want to cut back too much of the photosynthesizing leaves, because they are where the plant actually gets its energy to recover from the pruning. So I'm going to leave these alone, and that will give the plant enough to grow back a little bit. Oops, can't get in through there. And now that I'm looking in here, I think I am going to cut some of this back too, because it's getting a little overgrown and is actually growing up and out of the water. So we don't want that, and we don't want it interfering too much with the spray bar. I'm limited on circulation in this tank as it is, just because of the sheer volume of plants and rock work and wood and everything else that's in here. So I think that will do nicely. Now we will move this stuff out of the way and get started on the filter. So let me go get prepared for that, and we will get on to the next little bit. Alright everybody, sorry I'm out of breath. I've been rushing around because I got the tank draining, and I'm trying to get this done before I drain too much water out. I did just check the pH, so I can go a little bit more than this, and we won't shift it too much today. So we're going to get right to this. I have already unplugged it. I have opened this valve. When it is in the running position, it is like that. You open this valve. That allows you to pull this out, in theory. Actually, I don't even need to worry about that. I can set that right there. Now this will have the glass tube on the bottom, which is why I keep this square bucket here. That allows me to set that like that, and that is safely out of the way. I can now, see all those roots? I can now start pulling these out one at a time. And boy, is that disgusting and filthy. Oh yeah, this filter is way overdue for a change. That is disgusting. So this will go get dumped into the toilet and flushed away. I will bring the empty canister back, and in the meantime we're going to go over, I'm going to get working on this, and I'm going to show you how I refill and repack all of this. And in the meantime I'm going to start the tank filling back up too, because that is more than enough water for this water change. Alright everybody, we're over here at my testing station slash workstation. My polyfill, and this is actually called batting. The polyfill is usually sold, when you think of polyfill, people think of this stuff. It's just like cotton wool. You can stuff it in however you want. I don't like this stuff because it doesn't do what I want. This batting is actually the same exact material, it just comes in sheets. And for my smaller filters I cut thinner sheets, and when I'm doing these larger filters I cut the wider sheet. Apologize for all the noise, I got the furnace running. My water actually is heated by my furnace, not a water heater. So while I'm filling the tank up, that is just gross, isn't it? While I'm filling the tank up, I've got the hot water running, and that's why the furnace is kicking on. So I like to just lay this over on itself several times to create layers. If the bottom tray is filtration only, mechanical filtration only, all I do is put this in there, nice thick wad of it, and then the rest of the filter is dedicated more or less to biofiltration. So that will be my first pad that's just filter. This pad is going to need a little bit of a rinse once I get this out. Likewise disgusting. So these sponges do serve as surface area for my bio load, or for the biologicals in the tank, but they do have to allow water to move freely through them, so you can't let them get too filthy, or water will not be able to pass through them and they won't really be serving their purpose. But at the same time, you don't want to disrupt your biologicals too much, so it's sort of a fine line to how much maintenance you do on this kind of stuff. And for these trays I only put a single layer just as a liner in the bottom. Because for these trays I'm much more concerned about just using them as biofiltration than I am mechanical filtration. This is the same thing. I've just got some bags of rings and then a piece of that. Don't realize how noisy the furnace is until it shuts off. It really is gross stuff. And there it is. We're just going to go put these back in reverse order. and I will see you over at the tank. Alright, well this part is self-explanatory. We simply put them back in, and remember where the light was. It was on this corner, so we want to put the trays back in accordingly. And now, before we put this on, I'm going to go in the other room and go get a jug of water and start filling this up. And you want to fill it up with water until it's about in this top tray. You don't want to overfill it, because when you try to put the lid on and it seals down in there, you'll get some overflow. So there is going to be a little bit of a gap, but you want to fill it up enough that it really minimizes how much pumping you have to do when you're ready to get it restarted. So I am going to go ahead and spend the last few minutes paying attention to the water level rather than this, but once the tank is finished filling, we'll get back to this. We'll get the filter back installed, and then we will do a final before and after look at the tank. Alright, so the tank is filled. You can see I've got water just about up into this tray, but not really fully in it. We are simply going to put this back on. I can move my buckets out of the way. Now when it fits in, the two locking clamps should pretty much close easily, and then these two come up and just secure it in place. This goes back on here like so. We close the valve, and when we plug it in, it should start running again. Now you can hear it's got air in it and not water, so it's making that noise. Unfortunately, the pump on this one doesn't work very well. And that is why I always wait till the next morning before I come and do the after portion, because right after a big water change and a major cleaning, you tend to have a very messy looking tank for a little while. It is already almost 10 o'clock at night. We'll be actually turning the lights out here in about an hour, so we'll finish this up in the morning. But that is more or less how I do it. That's how I get my filter restarted. One little trick I do occasionally when you will hear bubbles in there, instead of pushing on the top, if you just sort of rock it, it moves the bubbles around in the impeller, and it will catch them and send them down the line, and you can actually see when they come out the top. So whenever you hear that strange gurgling, just give it a little shake, and it will usually run it right through. So in another half an hour, I'll work all the bubbles out of that just by shaking it and jiggling it a little bit, and it'll be a nice quiet filter that'll be good to go for about another month to 6 weeks before I do that again. So let's get the night over with, and we'll be back in the morning, and we'll do the before and after and any final thoughts. Alright, and there you have it. So it sure makes a big difference pulling some of those plants out of there and just opening it up and letting more light in. My plants down at the bottom will be able to do a little bit better. I will definitely get better and more free-flowing water circulation around the tank. And the fish will just have a little more room to swim around, and we'll be able to see them a little better. It's all the way around. I think the tank looks a lot better this way. I do like them lush. I do like a lot of greenery. I like a lot of tannins in the water, honestly. I like that nice tea-stained water. It just makes it tough to video, and it makes it tough to see. And when you start getting into situations where you've got plants growing into your filter, then it's obviously time to get in there and do some kind of serious maintenance and removal. So that's the difference between what it used to look like in this back corner and what it looks like now. You can actually see some of the apparatus in the back for the filter. It does go behind this big piece of wood right here, so you're not really actually going to ever be able to see it. If you look at the reflection in the end, you can kind of see back towards it and see all those hanging roots and everything on the back side of that branch. That's all coming off of this Java up here. Other than that, we didn't really do anything. I didn't get in there and wipe the glass down. Just removed those plants and did the water change. Pretty much what you saw is what you got. I did the filter, and everything else. So that was more than enough for this water change. Next time I get in there, I will wipe the glass down. I'll vac the gravel a little bit, and that'll be the next one. I did find a home for the plants that I took out of there. You will see them on my next Round the World update. I really hope I get a chance to shoot one of those today. I know I've been talking about it and I'm way behind. It's just been a busy couple of weeks. So there you go, before and after. I think it looks a lot better now, and hopefully it will stay looking this way for a little while until it gets all lush and regrown. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you on the next one.